Setting up a train to spin is fairly simple if you are just careful and follow the directions closely. You'll have your train spinning in no time. First thing you want to do is make sure that your train is anchored. Click the train model, click the anchor button at the top studio in the model tab or in the home tab anywhere, and just make sure that it's shaded. Then you're gonna want to set up your train for Hammerhead. So I'm gonna group these two things, name it car 1. Then I'm gonna create a part inside of the car. I'm gonna name it to root by pressing F2 on it. And then this part, I'm gonna put a decal in it really quickly, just as an example. Um, and this is a strategy I use. So the right side of the root part is what's supposed to be facing forward. That's how the gravity calculations are done with the train tilting and stuff. So the root part, its right side needs to be facing the front of the train. So I put this decal on the right side, and that shows me that it's facing this way. So I'm just gonna rotate it 90 degrees. And so now the right side is facing forwards, and I can remove the decal. Then I'm going to anchor the root part, make it non-collidable by turning off can collide. Then I'm going to size it to fit the car. Just going to make sure I get the entire car in. Cool. And once you do that, you can make it transparent by setting transparency, if I can find it, to 1. And so this red ball shows you that since I have size selected or scale selected, that this way is x, the x coordinate of the part's size. And so I'm going to copy that because that's the length of the car. I'm going to go to the car model itself. I'm going to add an attribute, number type. I'm going to call it length, capital L, make sure you spell it correctly, and then paste in that value, and also set the car model's primary part to the root part. You need to do both of those for the system to work. Alright, so the way to make a car spin is, for starters, the entire car won't spin, obviously, because these wheels need to stay on the track. So you have a model within the car that holds all the parts that spin. So that's going to be this top model here. And so I'm going to rename that to spin model. Spelled like that, no spaces, capital S, capital M. Then, so you see how when I hit move, its pivot is all the way over here? You can fix that by pressing the model tab, then clicking reset pivot, and it'll set it right to the center. Then I'm going to duplicate the root part, make it visible again. If I can find transparency. Alright, I'm going to call this spin base. This is the part that the rotation of the spin model is based off of. And so this will stay constant with the train. This part won't spin. But the model spinning is based off this, so it's important. And so I'm going to size it down a little bit by changing these numbers so it stays centered, just so it's a bit more manageable. Okay, so I want to, for starters, I'm going to go to spin model. I'm going to go to world pivot, copy the position, and set that to the position of the spin base part. Then I'm going to go to spin model and set its world pivot orientation, not pivot, world pivot, to 0, 0, 0. And I'm going to do the same with spin base. I'm going to go to orientation and set it to 0, 0, 0. And I am going to set its transparency to 1. And so let me make sure it's all anchored. And root and spin base are not collidable. And then I already set up trains for this coaster, so I'm just going to drag this in, call it train 1, duplicate that, train 2. Normally you do this to the plugin, but it's already set up the folders and stuff, and so I'm just recreating the models for this video. Cool. And then I'm going to go over here and test it to see if it's working. Because really all you're doing is just telling the system what part of the car spins and what part it's based off of. Or sorry, what model within the car spins and what part that spinning is based off of. Alright, so you can see the car spawned on track. These are only one car coasters. You can add more if you want to. And you don't have to have spinning within every car. And as you can see, it's not spinning very much because this section of track is gradual. But when we get up this lift hill, maybe we'll spin a little on the lift hill from the weight and balance. So yeah, uh, this layout itself doesn't have a ton of spinning until you get towards the end, then it gets crazy, but you'll still see it at the top a little bit. So I'm press T to get into POV camera. Yeah, starting to spin a little bit. So anyways, that's just a really quick summary of how to set it up. Just remember that if you want a car to spin, not all cars have to spin, but if you want it to spin, it has to contain a model called spin model, part called spin base. The part has to be in the exact same position as the model. Both of their uh, world pivot orientations have to be 0, 0, 0 for it to function properly because it spins around this y-axis. Um, and then the rest of the car just can be whatever, but make sure that only the parts of the car you want to spin are in the spin model. And if you do all that correctly, then your coasters will spin. That's pretty much it.